Oh,
Pretty good, huh?
looks different from the one which we regularly used to fly.
Yeah, no, that old chieftain we used to have was, it got you there, but not in style, not in comfort. This thing is so much nicer, so much more relaxed.
Tango, confirm that you've left flight level 160.
Just leaving now, Golf Sierra Tango. Yeah, it's got all the stuff in here. In fact, if I just pull up the weather radar, there it is there.
So, what is this thing in front?
That's pretty interesting. That's just showing this is a bit of a storm on the nose. I'll just have a chat. Golf Sierra Tango, weather radar showing there's a bit of weather on the nose. Can we take a turn either left or right for 30 degrees?
Golf Sierra Tango, turn left 30 degrees, take up a heading of 180 degrees.
Roger, left turn 180, Golf Sierra Tango. Oh, sorry about that big rush this morning, Ben. It's less than ideal. I don't know about you, I got stuck in all that traffic. I was hoping to have a bit more time to sort myself out.
It's no problem. It gave me another chance to have another look at our investment.
So how are we looking for this meeting then? Are we all set?
Well, yeah, I will taking a look to some charts and some information which we downloaded from internet. And even though we have to be very careful because you know the markets those days are quite
Flight B43 Bravo, flight level 180.
quite volatile.
Is that yesterday's data?
This one is yesterday's data, and this company doing pretty good. They invest in the money in mostly healthcare and medicine. We should take a good look, I think. Take opportunity for ourselves.
Golf Sierra Tango, sorry, say again?
Golf Mike, Uniform Sierra Tango, descend now, flight level 100, good rate, passing flight level 120.
Roger, descend flight level 100 and good rate 3120, Golf Sierra Tango.
Squawk 4322 for Cardiff.
4322, Golf Sierra Tango. 4322.
Have we arranged the FBO on Cardiff?
What's up? No, first time for me. Yeah. Just check that weather one more time.
This is airport information. Height and time 1020. Zulu. Expect and localizer. Approach runway 12. Surface wind 180 degrees 10 knots. Cloud overcast at 900 feet. Temperature high. Dew point 00. UNH 1015. Thunderstorm 78.
That's fine, overcast 800 feet, we've got a minima of, check again, 405. That's all fine, the weather's not going to affect us, we can see now where the storms are we're avoiding. Golf Sierra Tango, go ahead.
Say again, contact Cardiff approach now 119.5. You can route direct to the Charlie Delta Fox.
11915, direct Charlie Delta Fox, Golf Sierra Tango. Okay, let's see where that is. We go direct to Charlie Delta Fox. It's entered. Take it on the nav. There we go.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, it's what we've got here is what's called our flight plan, basically. This place here called Charlie Delta Fox is a beacon plumb in the middle of the airfield. And then after that, we've got basically the approaches all set up as well, ready to go.
This meeting today is very, very important for our future investment, and we will try to be there about 12 noon.
Yeah, it's going to be tight, but we should be okay. We're on set now.
Be alert, I do not trust the secretary at all. I dealt previously with her, and be focused in everything, please.
All right. Okay, well, I tell you, I'll sit in the back. I'll watch expressions. I'll listen to what's going on. But I'll leave the negotiations to you on this one.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get. I need to get a couple of checks out of the way. Just bear with me.
Just a second. What was the name of the FBO?
422, descending now, flight level.
I need to call him. I haven't called him yet.
I'll come back to you. I need to talk to him.
Ryanair 422, Roger. And towards the Charlie Delta Fox. No delay expected. Ryanair 422.
Cardiff, good morning, this is Golf, Mike Uniform. Just stop that. This is Golf, Mike Uniform, Sierra Tango, we're at flight level 100 with Information Hotel inbound to Cardiff.
Roger, Golf Sierra Tango, descend now, flight level 80.
Okay, so what are we in? We're in the descent. Pressurization is set for Cardiff. We don't need the de-ice.
Have you organized our transportation from Cardiff?
Do you know that's... I forgot that as well. I'm sorry, I should have done that.
Do you know the name of the company? I will try to call them.
Yeah, it was, I think it was South Wales Taxi.
Southwest Taxi. Do you have the number?
No, sorry. Just
I will try to find
Yeah,
it.
if you can organise that.
I was today slightly worried because the M4 was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's better to go by air. It's a lot more relaxed. Sorry, that's keeps doing that too. There we go.
Ryanair 422, turn right now, heading 090, cleared for the localizer.
Okay, landing data we were doing, so with our weight we're going to need 94.
Ryanair 422, roger, turning right. Please pick up the
One.
localizer, runway 12.
I'll just come down a little bit quicker. That'll sort everything out for us.
What are the numbers which you put in there?
Yeah, it's basically just telling the aeroplane, or putting in some references of the speed I'm going to fly the approach at, the speed I'm going to land at. What you'll see is that, well, in fact, you can see it there.
Ryanair 422, we're now localizer established, runway 12.
Let me just get us coming down again.
Ryanair 422, contact Cardiff Town now, 133 decimal.
There we go.
Tower,
Get little sort of what we call reference speeds over the side here, just to give me an indication of what to fly at. Seatbelts, fuel transfer knob not used, landing light switch I've put on already, flap panel takeoff approach. So if I can just give you that, that's I've got another set of checks to do before landing checks. If you could just look after that for me.
Oh, take care of it.
There you can see on the map down here, we just over the Bristol Channel, into a right-hand turn back for the final approach into Cardiff. So it should be on the ground in about 5 minutes.
That's good. That's good news. But is this one? Why did it? I saw it. It was pink.
Well, magenta we call it. Yeah. It was because we were navigating the aeroplane using GPS, just like in your car, your sat nav. Yeah. But now we're about to fly an approach into Cardiff. We're using a different, what we call navigation source. This is from the instrument landing system, and basically that will direct the aeroplane.
Sierra Tango, turn right, heading 090. You're cleared for the localizer approach, runway 12.
Right onto 090, cleared for the localizer 12, Golf Sierra Tango.
Golf Sierra Tango, now descend altitude at 2,200 feet, Cardiff, QNH 1015.
And descend 2,200 feet, 1015, Golf Sierra Tango.
And this one will fly?
Yeah, let me show you. He's cleared us for the approach, so there we go. Okay, see we got that, lock white, out glide set white, so it just basically means the aeroplane is going to take over and fly it for me. And what you'll see, press that, there we go. It's pretty much straight down the runway centre line for Cardiff.
And it does it itself?
Well, it is flying on the autopilot, yeah, so I'm managing it, I'm doing all the switches, but it's, the aeroplane's pretty much, yeah, it's looking after itself.
Must be very good for you.
Yeah, no, it's great, much better than that old aeroplane. Golf Sierra Tango is established on the localizer.
Golf Sierra Tango, roger, advise at 4 miles.
We'll go Golf Sierra Tango. Cardiff, this is Golf Sierra Tango. Do you have any idea where we're going to park? We need to get away from the airfield fairly expeditiously.
Golf Mike Uniform Sierra Tango, Cardiff Tower, been waiting for your call. I'll make an inquiry about that. Advise me at 4 miles.
Roger, we'll go Golf Sierra Tango. We are established on the localizer.
Golf Sierra Tango.
Right, how are we doing?
And what's this window here? This one, this kind of
that's
arrow stuff.
Yeah, sorry, just a minute, Ben. I think we should be going down by now. Tower Golf Sierra Tango, just confirm the ILS is serviceable.
Golf Sierra Tango, the ILS has been note-hammed with glide path unserviceable due to maintenance, and we're operating localizer approaches for runway 12 at Cardiff.
Roger, Golf Sierra Tango. Should be going down. How do I do that? I haven't done one of these for ages. I knew there was something I've not done.
Sierra Tango, what's your range?
We're just inside 4 now, Golf Sierra Tango. How do I get this thing to go down?
Clear to land at runway 12, surface wind 180.10.
I need to get it to go down.
Are you alright?
Yeah, sorry, it's I've just got a little bit busy here, Ben. Okay, that's better. Let's put the flaps down. A little bit quick. Golf Sierra Tango, just confirm we are clear to land, please, sir.
Golf Sierra Tango is clear to land, runway 12, surface winds 180.10.
Clear to land, Golf Sierra Tango. Yeah, a little bit high here at the moment, but it's okay. I can fix it. It's nothing too bad.
A good effort, my friend. You know how important it is for us.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We'll get it. I'll get it down. Yeah, sorry, that check I asked for. If you could just find that for me.
The check you wanted.
I just confirm we're clear to land. Golf Sierra Tango, just confirm we are clear to land, please, on 12.
Golf Sierra Tango is clear to land, runway 12, surface wind now 190.10.
Clear to land 12, Golf Sierra Tango.
And,
good, I can see the runway, a little bit high.
So, which one did you want?
This one just here, the before landing checklist.
Before landing checks.
Sink
landing
rate.
gear down and locked.
500.
Speed
Pull
brakes.
up.
Let's go.
And flaps handle.
Pull up.
Land, it
Pull
says.
up.
Yeah, we can land. I don't know what she's shouting at me for.
Golf Sierra Tango,
Minimums.
go around. I say again, go around. Acknowledge.
Sierra Tango, say again.
Golf Sierra Tango, your gear is retracted. Go around. I say again, go around. Acknowledge.
Golf Sierra Tango going round.
You didn't land?
No, I'm not quite. Hang on. Not quite sure what's going on. The scenario was a pure fabrication. We built it up from a variety of incident and accident reports and also from events that I've seen as a flight examiner over the last 10 years or so. Mistakes that people make that are generally the result of a long train of things not quite going according to plan. One of the incident reports that we did draw heavily on when we came up with this scenario was a Situata TBM which made an approach into Birmingham and ended up landing over the top of another airplane that was already lined up on the runway. And when you look closely at it, you can probably trace the start of events right back to the pre-flight planning stage, where the pilot had either failed to interpret the NOTAMs correctly or had forgotten what he checked. And what we tried to do on this incident was a similar sort of thing, where the pilot's approach into Cardiff, his mindset was that he was going to fly an ILS approach, but the NOTAM was actually that the ILS was out of service at Cardiff for that day. There's one other one as well, which was, I believe, an incident with a Cirrus aircraft flying into Gloucester. And one of the underlying causes of that one was actually that the pilot had become fairly heavily reliant on the autopilot and the automatics in the aeroplane, to the extent that when he started to lose control, he had no options left but to actually abandon the aeroplane, and he used a ballistic recovery system. Over the last 3 years, I think it was, there have been as many as a dozen wheels up landings in the UK, and the majority of those have been caused by distractions, where for whatever reason the pilot's being focused on other things and just forgot to put the undercarriage down. And in some of those, even with a warning system going off in the headset, this just didn't register with the pilot. The role I was trying to portray today was that of a businessman first and foremost. The company he works for owns and operates an aeroplane, and this gentleman is qualified to fly the aeroplane, but he normally flies with a professional qualified pilot, and the qualified pilot normally does all the legwork for him, does all the preparation, files the flight plans, and the gentleman I was portraying does the flying, but obviously under supervision of the company pilot. For whatever reason today the company pilot wasn't available, So the gentleman I was portraying was quite confident, he's qualified, he can fly the aeroplane, so he decided to undertake the flight on his own. Actually, probably the main cause can be traced right back to even before setting off airborne, in that the pilot wasn't fully prepared, he hadn't completed thorough pre-flight planning and preparation, to the extent that right at the end of the flight he discovered that the ILS was not available at his destination and that he was required to fly a localizer approach. And everything leading up to that was really traceable back to that initial pre-flight planning and preparation and lack of awareness that the ILS was NOTAMed unserviceable. There were several other factors. The fact that he had a meeting to get to, which was considered as high priority, and the fact that he had a colleague with him who distracted him on a number of occasions throughout the flight, and he allowed himself to be distracted, was obviously also a contributory factor.
I think had he said at the top of descent, right, no more talking till we're on the ground, I've got to concentrate on getting us landed safely, I don't think we would have seen half the items crop up. And specifically, you may recall that air traffic cleared him to descend to a lower level on a number of occasions. Air traffic had to prompt him on a number of occasions to actually leave his allocated level, because another aircraft will be wanting that level. Moving further on, I certainly, as a professional pilot, I thought to myself he was staying very high all the way down, and I started wondering about his situational awareness, about how he was going to manage his energy. But the big clue came when he levelled off, because had he levelled off the way he was taught to level off, he would not have been hearing that horn beeping all the time. That horn beeping is the undercarriage warning horn, and that comes on at 130 knots.
Sorry, that's...
There is no way that you would normally fly this aeroplane at 130 knots. 160 would have been a very practical speed. And as we look further on from that, yes, he established on the localizer, that was fine, but there was a big clue. The glide slope wasn't actually radiating. In other words, we couldn't see the glide slope showing something on the screen. It was a no-no. It wasn't there. Had he noticed that with a correct scan, he could have said to air traffic, is the glide slope operating? And they would have said, negative, it's NOTAMed as unserviceable. And then he could have had a quick replan at that point and get himself ready. And the last clue was at 4 miles, he didn't cross-check his altitude and the distance. Had he done that, he would have realized something was very wrong, and that would have been the point to go around.
One of the crucial things when you're operating an aeroplane on your own, the single pilot, is workload management. And often without even realising it, you've increased your own workload just by, for example, as our pilot did today, demonstrating the capabilities of his aeroplane to his passenger. He was keen on having his passenger involved and talking to him about how the avionics worked. But straight away, as I say, without even realising it, he's now increased his own personal workload. And the ideal solution is to have as little workload as possible. There were times, particularly towards the end of the flight, where things weren't going according to plan, where the pilot found himself in a high workload situation. And the problem then, of course, is to know how to offload some of that work if you can, or even just to get out of that situation completely. In today's scenario, they were both very keen on landing the aeroplane and getting to their business meeting. But right up until probably the last 3 or 4 minutes of the flight, the pilot had every opportunity to declare he wasn't happy with it. He was feeling that he was working too hard and just basically going around from the approach and buying himself some time. The pilot displayed some traits of that are typical of pilots, particularly when they're under high stress or high workload, in that they might hear a message and reply to it, but without actually digesting what the message means. and on this occasion the pilot heard the ATIS on 2 or 3 occasions, which quite clearly broadcast that it was a localiser approach into Cardiff, but he failed to pick up on that.
Expect and localiser approach runway 12, surface wind 180 degrees 10.
And similarly, air traffic on 2 or 3 occasions did actually specify that he was being vectored for the localiser DME approach, which again he read back correctly, but the penny didn't drop that it was actually not the approach he was expecting, in other words, not a full ILS approach.
Direct the aeroplane. Tango to right heading 090, you're cleared for the localiser approach runway 12.
Right onto 090, cleared for the localiser 12, Golf Sierra Tango. So as I said before, it is quite a common trait, particularly when you're under high workload, to not fully register the message that's being passed through to you. And in the single pilot community especially, you don't have the benefit of another crew member who might say, excuse me Captain, what did they just say?
I think the other thing that they really need to consider is absolutely insisting on a sterile cockpit.
So for the single pilot, obviously backing up what you do with a checklist is highly important, and the gentleman in question that I was trying to portray did have a habit of either starting a checklist and putting it down before completing it, or actually missing some of the prompts that would instigate the next part of the checklist, and in particular where normally at the top of the final descent the action of lowering the undercarriage would prompt the landing checks. On the approach that this gentleman flew, that wasn't the case, and that was also one of the factors that led to him flying the approach with the wheels still up.
When the pilot broke through the cloud and he saw the runway, he was hopelessly high, but he decided to press on. He was determined to land at all costs. Maybe it was the press-on-itis of getting to the meeting. Maybe he didn't want to be seen to be failing. I don't know. But the important thing, though, is as he got closer and closer to the ground, air traffic said to him, go around. I say again, go around. And he paused. And he partially flared. And then he paused again. And air traffic had to scream at him again, go around, go around. Your undercarriage is up. And then he made a half-hearted attempt to go around.
Oh, Sierra Tango, go around. I say again, go around. Acknowledge.
Sierra Tango, say again.
Oh, Sierra Tango, your gear is retracted. Go around. I say again, go around. Acknowledge.
Golf Sierra Tango going around.
At that point, the first time he heard somebody saying go around, he should have carried out the standard operating procedures. He should have hit the go around switch, advanced the throttles at the same time, rotating to the climb attitude. He got so close to actually brushing the ground, it wasn't true.
Additionally, pilots are taught and assessed at carrying out a go-around from decision altitude repeatedly. What doesn't tend to happen is to train and assess a pilot to go around well before decision altitude, if they decide to abandon approach at 3 or 4 miles, for example, or to abandon approach and go around from just prior to touchdown. And certainly something that could come out of this video for training providers is to either set up a scenario where the trainee is forced to carry out a go-around when they're not expecting it, well before decision altitude, or indeed afterwards. So they've gone past decision altitude, the mindset is we're now about to land, and for whatever reason they have to carry out almost a no-notice go-around. And I think if that was taken on board by the training industry, that could only have a positive effect.